Hello, this is the revision video for the 5SI test number 1 on number, covering fractions, decimals, percentages, improper fractions, mixed numbers, primes, squares, cubes, and triangle numbers. Hopefully you've attempted the questions in the shared PDF, and then you can check your workings and your answers with the methods in the video. We start with simplifying fractions. This is where we find an equivalent fraction where the numerator and the denominator, the top and the bottom, do not share a common factor. Let's look at the first one here. We have 2 over 8. Now 2 over 8, both those numbers 2 and 8 are divisible by 2. So they share a common factor of 2. So I can divide the top and bottom by 2 and have an equivalent fraction. 2 divided by 2 is equal to 1. 8 divided by 2 is equal to 4. So 2/8 is exactly the same as 1/4. They're an equivalent fraction, but this is in its simplest terms. We cannot find anything that divides into 1 and 4 apart from 1, and that would just give us the same value. So 1/4 is our simplified form. For 3 over 9, the number that will divide into both here is 3. So I can divide top and bottom by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. The next one here, we divide top and bottom by 5. And if you see what I'm writing here, I'm showing that I'm dividing the top and I'm showing dividing the bottom by the same value. It's always useful to write that in. So that gives me 1 over 6. Sometimes we don't end up with 1 on the top of the fraction. Let's have a look here. This is a special case, in fact, because we have 20 over 50. And we could divide top and bottom by 10. So I could write it like this: divide by 10, divide by 10, and that would give me 2 over 5. But a more common way of actually doing this one is if the top and the bottom both end in a 0, I just sort of slice off the 2 zeros. It's doing the same thing. It's by dividing by 10, but it's a little bit quicker. So 20 divided by 10 is equal to 2, and 50 divided by 10 is equal to 5. So the answer is 2 over 5. On to the next side, on to E. We have 16 over 20. Well, I know that 2 goes into both. So I can divide by 2 because they're both even. So I have 8. And divide the bottom here by 2, and I get 10. And these are both even again, so I can go again. I can divide by 2 again, and divide by 2 again. And what do I get this time? Then I get 4 over 5. But I could have gone straight from here, 16 to 4, and from 20 to 5. I could have just done divided by 4. Either method works. If you can spot the larger number that you can divide into both, do it straight away. If not, you can do it in steps. There are no lost marks for doing this in steps. The next one I will do in one go, and I'm looking at 8 and 24, and I know that 8 is a factor of 24. So if I divide by 8 on the top, I'm going to get 1, and if I divide by 8 on the bottom, I'm going to get 3. The next one divides by 5, so I'm going to do 15 divided by 5. Well, that's equal to 3, and 25 divided by 5 is equal to 5. And then finally, the last one here, not always easy to spot the 7s, but this is both these numbers are multiples of 7, so I divide the top by 7 to give me 2, and I divide the bottom by 7 to give me 5. Next we move on to converting between fractions, decimals, and percentages. And there are a few steps you need to remember. If you want to convert from a fraction to a decimal, you just do the top of the fraction divided by the bottom of the fraction. The thing you might want to remember here is that a fraction is just one number over another number, which actually is a division symbol. So it's kind of telling you what to do. To convert from a decimal to a percentage, all you do here is multiply by 100. And to convert from a percentage to a fraction, you are putting the percentage over 100 and simplify. One of these steps is reversible, and that is going from a percentage to a decimal. That is dividing by 100. So if you just look at this little wheel thing here, we can go from fraction to decimal, decimal to percentage, percentage to fraction, percentage to decimal. You cannot go easily from fraction to percentage. So always follow the wheel going around. The powerful one here is decimal, because we can turn fractions into decimals and percentages into decimals in one step. And that's going to be useful for the next set of questions. Back to my questions here. So I have, first of all, 21% is a decimal. So I'm doing decimal to percentage. So I do 21 divided by 100, which is 0.21. 3%, exactly the same. 3 divided by 100. 3 divided by 100 is 0.03. Note the difference here. There's a 0 here because if the 3 was here, it's a common mistake. People put 0.3 as 3%, but that would be 30%. So just take your percentage, divide it by 100, gives you what you need. Next, we've got a decimal to a percentage, multiplying by 100. So I do 0.5 multiplied by 100 equals 50%. The next one here, same thing, just take your decimal, 0.016 multiplied by 100 equals 1.6%. Note here that you can have a decimal within a percentage. That can happen, okay? So make sure you look out for that. But remember, this is a percentage number. As a decimal, it is 0.016. 3/4 is a decimal, it's a fraction, so we're going to do top divided by bottom. So we just do 3 divided by 4, and 3 divided by 4 is 0.75. Next, we have 8/5, so we have an improper fraction here. So we're going to do 8 divided by 5, and 8 divided by 5 is going to be 1.6. So we can have a decimal here where the number is larger than 1, and we get that when we have an improper fraction. Finally, 15% is a fraction, so we need to put this over 100 and simplify. So we do 15% equals 15 over 100. They're both multiples of 5. 15 divided by 5 is 3. 100 divided by 5 is 20. So it is 3 over 20. And finally, a decimal to a fraction. So what I need to do here, I need to do 0.42. And looking at my diagram here, decimal to fraction, I can't go that way. I have to go this way and this way, turn it into a percentage and then a fraction. So 0.42 times by 100 equals 42%. And then I do 42 over 100. And then we try and simplify this. They're both even, so 21 over 50, they both divide by 2. Nothing goes into 21 and 50, so the final answer is 21 over 50. I mentioned on the previous screen that the most powerful form is decimal, and you'll see it here when we are ordering a mixture of fractions, decimals, and percentages. So we're ordering them in ascending order. So ascending means that they are going up. So we start with the smallest one. If it was descending order, it would start with the largest and go down. But this is ascending, so we're going up. To compare them, I need to write them all as decimals. So 1 over 5 is 1/5 is 0.2. I would do 1 divided by 5, 0.2. 21% is 21 divided by 100, which is 0.21. And my last one is already in decimal form, 0.205. Now, I have 3 decimal places on the one on the right. So to help me, I'm just going to put zeros in on here to make these also have 3 decimal places. 0.2 is exactly the same as 0.200, but it means it's easier for me to compare, because when I'm looking at this now, I'm really looking at, okay, I've got kind of 200 here and 210 here and 205 here. It kind of makes it easier to look at. Remember, this is 200 thousandths, 210 thousandths, and 205 thousandths. Now, which of these numbers is smallest? Well, the smallest one is clearly this one. So my smallest value will be 1 over 5. That's my first one. The next one then is going to be this one. So this is going to be my second one. So I'm going to put 0.205 here, separating them with commas. And that means the last one is my third one here, which is 0.21, which is 21%. So let's make sure we write them in the form that we were given at the beginning. So 21%. You will get marks for doing the conversions into decimal form, and then you get another mark for putting them in the correct order. So make sure you write down these equivalents first before you order them. Now we have converting between improper fractions and mixed numbers. Remember that an improper fraction is one where the top is larger than the bottom. Sometimes they're called top-heavy fractions. So these two are improper fractions. And then we have mixed numbers, which is a number followed immediately by a fraction. And in English, when we have the number in front of the fraction, they're not multiplied, they are literally added together. It's 1 and 1/5 here, but we'd never put a plus sign. It's just referred to as 1 and 1/5. So make sure you don't do it in the French way where you're doing 1 plus 1/5. It is 1 and 1/5. But it kind of means the same thing. So let's have a look. Converting into a mixed number, we have 5 over 4. The way to do it, we know that a fraction is just a number divided by another number. So what we say is this. We say 5 divided by 4. What is 5 divided by 4? Well, 5 divided by 4 is 1. But it's not 1 exactly. I have 1 left over. So that 1 left over is a quarter. So 5 over 4 is equal to 1 over 1 and 1/4. 1 and 1/4. The second one, we have 14 over 3. So I'm going to do 14 divided by 3. How many 3's go into 14? Well, that's going to be 4, because 4 3's are 12, but I want 14, so I have 2 left over. So I still have 2/3 left over. So I have 4 whole ones and 2/3. The next one, turning into improper fractions. What we do here, we say, well, this whole one is 5/5 plus this 1/5 means I have 6/5. 6 over 5. One way of looking at it easily and quickly is to just do 5 multiplied by 1 is 5 plus 1 is 6, and that's over the fraction denominator here of 5. So then the final one here, I have 7 whole ones plus 3 7s. So I'm going to do 7 multiplied by 7, that's 49, plus 3, that's 52. So this one is 52 over 7. I have 52 sevenths in 7 whole ones and 3 7s.